Welcome to week 3 of Dan's shopping adventures. So far we've been to Checkers and we've been to Pick n Pay. Next week we're at Woolworths, but this week it is a visit to Spar, armed with 500 Rand and looking for 4 bottles of wine. 2 inexpensive bottles, 1 red, 1 white, and 2 bottles that cost just a little more. Again, 1 white and 1 red. And these are the 4 that I've dug up this week, culminating in something rather special. We start though with a visit to Spier, and there's a very good chance you've been to Spier. It's as much a theme park really as anything else. They've got a number of restaurants. They used to have one of the branches of Moyo where dinner involved looking as though you'd been attacked by a large bottle of Tipex. They've got a number of delis. There's an area to go and hang out and have a picnic, and then there is rather a lot of wine. They've got quite a few ranges from their France Case Smith at the top end through to what we have here today. This is their entry-level Sauvignon Blanc. It comes from an estate though that's got a terrific name, and although it makes a lot of wine, it does make good wine, and so although this isn't that expensive, I still have reasonably high hopes for this Sauvignon Blanc. So this bottle of wine came in at about 58 Rand a bottle. It's a fairly reasonable price for a decent bottle of white wine. It's not the cheapest bottle, but it's certainly a long way from being the top end. Still enough to expect a reasonable mouthful of Sauvignon Blanc from 2016, fairly new, nice and fresh, and pretty much what you'd expect from an easy drinking Sauvignon Blanc, at least on the nose. The palate is pretty much on par with the nose. It's got a nice freshness to it, it's not too sharp, it's got some nice soft fruit to it, and it's just an easy drinking Sauvignon Blanc. It's what you want for a summer's day around the pool or around the braai. Nothing too complicated, a little bit of depth to it, and a really decent Sauvignon Blanc, and at 65 Rand a bottle, I'm happy with that. So from an entry-level Sauvignon Blanc to a Chardonnay that's a little more expensive. Vrede, not too far out of Franschhoek, which, like so many of our estates, has plenty to offer it, including the chance to play pétanque, boule, the ancient French art of standing around and not doing very much. You can play some pétanque while having some wine, and there's plenty of wine at Vrede to choose from. The Boet Erasmus Red Blend is celebrated, but this is one that I think is worth having a look at. Their Marguerite Chardonnay, named after the daughter of the founder hundreds of years ago of this particular slice of winemaking heaven. And this, a gold medal from Michelangelo, just underscores the fact that it should be a really nice Chardonnay. So it's no secret that I'm a big fan of Chardonnay. South African Chardonnay has come on leaps and bounds in the last decade or so. And certainly the nose suggests we're onto a good thing. A little more citrusy, a little more zesty than you might normally expect from a Chardonnay. Very, 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 very subtle wood. So if you're from that group of anti-Chardonnay people who believe that it's all just eating a big piece of bark, this is certainly not it. This has got a real spikiness to it, but it's still a lovely wine. It's got a smooth base, and I think Marguerite would be very happy with the wine named in her honour several hundred years after she bid us farewell. 120 Rand a bottle. It's a Chardonnay to drink now, but as with a lot of Chardonnay, certainly no harm in leaving it for a little longer. Then on to the reds from Spar, and it's probably a surprise we haven't had this on the show before. As South African wines go, this really is iconic. They've been making this for more than 50 years. The Alto Rouge, one of the very first South African red wines I tried. I was out on a wine route when at university down in Cape Town. We went to Alto, we tasted this, and it's something you strike up a love affair with. It's not an expensive bottle of wine. This cost me a touch under 90 Rand. I actually found it about 10 Rand cheaper subsequently when I dropped in at Checkers, but 87 Rand for a bottle of Alto Rouge is something I'm more than happy to pay. It's a real banker. You know, it's a good, solid red blend, and it's not going to disappoint. Alto is in really good red winemaking territory. It's in the same part of the world you'll find Ruston Vrede, you'll find Ernie Elfs, you'll find Bilton. estates that make excellent red wine, and made by a young but very talented winemaker. Alto's recently taken over from his dad and continued one of the finer traditions in terms of South African red blends. It's classic Bordeaux, it's Cab Sauv, it's Shiraz, it's Cab Franc, it's Merlot, and it comes together in something that has been a consistent benchmark in South African red wine making for over 50 years. And exactly what you'd expect, and happily so. It's those dark berries, that luscious feel, a nice big Bordeaux mouthful. Alto time and again delivers, and what really makes it such a special wine is that you're not paying what you might expect. Depending on where you go, 80, 90 Rand. This was 87 Rand at Spar. It's a really solid buy, and if you're looking for something that you want to make sure is going to deliver and is not going to break the bank, this really is your go-to wine. And so to the final wine, and what is, for me, the find of the 4 weeks of my shopping experiences. David Niewoudt is known for what he does up in Cederberg Wines with altitude, wine in a very remote part of South Africa, but wine that's been lauded right around the world, and deservedly so. David Niewoudt making some exceptional wine. But he recently bought some property down in Elm near Cape Agulhas. If you've had the Strandveld wine, the first sighting, you'll know that part of the world. So very different to Cederberg, a lot cooler and wine growing area that just offers a completely different approach to what is up in the Cederberg. And if you're thinking cool, automatically you're thinking Pinot Noir. And this is the Ghost Corner range, and in particular the Ghost Corner Pinot Noir. Beautifully wrapped, lovely labelling, but the wine I'm anticipating will be even better. The Ghost Corner name comes from the fact that off the coast of Cape Agulhas there are well over 100 ships that have sunk, and it's the ghosts of those ships and their crew that supposedly still drift around the area. And if they do, they'd be gravitating towards this, because this just looks incredible. The bottle itself, you saw the labelling on the packaging inside. There's this nice embossed label. It's just a really impressive looking bottle of wine. And it's a bottle of Pinot Noir that, just based on terroir, screams out, this should be awesome. And that really is an extraordinary mouthful of South African wine. David Niewoudt has done some terrific work up in Cederberg, but this is as good as anything. Down in Elm, it's a different part of the world. It allows him to play around with something very different. And this Pinot Noir that he's created, I'd heard good things about, and they've certainly been delivered upon. It is wonderfully soft. It is wonderfully supple. It still has that velvet finish to it. And it's everything that is good about Pinot Noir. You're not too far here from Walker Bay, Himalayanada Valley, the place that we consider to be the home of Pinot Noir in South Africa. This is giving everything they make in the Himalayanada Valley a good run for its money. It's just a really lovely, lovely wine. And David Niewoudt can be justifiably proud, as too can the team at Spar. I'm not sure where this found its way into the bottle store that I arrived at, but I'm very glad that it did, and that it was nestled in a little corner of Johannesburg. An exceptional wine, not an inexpensive one. This was 198 Rand, so the third most expensive wine out of our 4 weeks, but it's worth every cent and more. In total, 455 Rand I spent, so I effectively saved 45 Rand on my expedition. The Spier Sauvignon Blanc more than did the business for a nice summer easy drinking Sauvignon. That Marguerite Chardonnay I'd probably leave for a few more years and allow a very good wine to get even better. The Alto Rouge, well, we know Alto Rouge, we have done for many years, and it's always going to deliver. And then this, David Niewoudt's Ghost Corner, Spar. You've done yourselves proud. Cheers.